On the Track is a web TV show about cryptozoology, natural history, green issues and whatever else the team feel like making up as they go along. Enjoy!
So what's in today's show, Mr. Jon?
Well, Hennis, this time we're going to go to Tajikistan to find out what happened to Richard, Darren, Chris and John.
I really like the old credits.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name's John Downs. I'm the director of the Centre for Fortean Zoology, and welcome to another issue of What's That? There's something happening on the starboard bow.
Hello, sailor.
Let's start again. My name is John Downs. I'm the director of an organisation called the Centre for Fortean Zoology, and welcome to another episode of On the Track. For those of you not in the know, every Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock for about half an hour, and every Wednesday evening at 6:30 for about half that, we bring you a miscellany of hard science, weird shit, and surreality. What's surreality? Well, I think you'd better ask him.
I've been on the poop deck.
As I expect that you all know, earlier this summer the Centre for Fortean Zoology sent a 4-man expedition, Richard Freeman, Dr. Chris Clark, Dr. Darren Naish and John Hare, to the Central Asian landlocked country of Tajikistan. It was their second visit, having been to the Romit Valley back in 2018, and this time they intended to continue their work looking for evidence of the Ghoul, which is a semi-mythical hominin from the region, and the Caspian Tiger, a subspecies of tiger which is supposedly extinct, having finally been hunted to death in the 1970s. Richard and I had intended to edit together a single episode of the show telling their adventures in Tajikistan, but we soon found that we had far more material than we needed for that. And we decided to do something that we haven't done for a long time and make a feature-length film, which we have called The Tiger and the Wildman. This is going to be available at the same time that you see this show, and it's going to be available at a link which we will put in the show notes below. But for this episode we're going to show you the first half hour or so, just as a taster, and I sincerely hope that you enjoy it. In the middle of August 2023, the Centre for Fortean Zoology sent a 4-man team to Tajikistan, a landlocked country in Central Asia. The team, Richard Freeman, Dr. Chris Clark, John Hare and Dr. Darren Naish, were following in the footsteps of a previous expedition of ours back in 2018, and searching for evidence of a semi-mythical wildman called the Ghoul, and for the continued existence of the Caspian Tiger, a subspecies believed to have been extinct since the 1970s. This was their story. So Richard, first of all, welcome back to dear old Blighty. How long were you out in Tajikistan?
Just 2 weeks.
And what was your main objective for being out there?
Well, this expedition was Chris Clark's idea. And of course he had edited the manuscript of Boris Prozhniev that we turned into a book translated by Lars Thomas and Co. And it contained lots of stuff that has never been seen in the West before. And some of the accounts were from an area along the Karatag Valley, particularly around Lake Peyron, where a family of these relic hominins had been seen back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, tracks on numerous occasions, and he thought it might be a good place to visit.
Is this the place that he's been talking about for years, about wanting to go to?
Well, I've been talking about wanting to go to Tajikistan for years. His original idea was to rent a helicopter and take us up to some remote pass, and then we'd come down on foot. But I think the price was a bit prohibitive. But we were closer to Dushanbe, the capital, than before. So it's closer to Dushanbe than the Romit Valley, where we concentrated on in 2018.
Did you find that as it was closer to the capital city that it was less wild, I think?
Yes, it was considerably less wild than the Romit Valley. There was much more human disturbance there.
Right, well hi, we're in the Karatag Valley, is that how it's pronounced?
Karatang Valley, I believe.
Karakan. And as you can see, absolutely spectacular scenery. It's marked by really impressive high rocky peaks, quite jagged, been doing some looking at the geology. But otherwise it's kind of mixed deciduous woodland. Sort of has kind of like a slightly Mediterranean feel to it.
Yeah, it reminds me of Greece.
Greece,
Mountains
yeah.
of Greece.
Well, I've noticed a lot of the trees are like poplar trees. There's lots of fruit trees around. There's lots of willow trees. In fact, we're right next to the river here. Very, very fast-flowing river. An enormous amount of water here, actually. And much of the river is fringed by young and mid-aged willows. Willows are sort of good. Lots of animals like eating willow. They're very rich in things like phosphorus and calcium and such. Even people can eat them. And quite an abundance of animal life. We've already seen a long list of birds that you'd expect to see in the region. There's corvids and dippers and wagtails and stuff, and insects, quite a few butterflies, lots of grasshoppers, a large kind of grasshopper, about 5 centimetres long, seen quite a few of those. But I'm also noticing an awful lot of human activity, so there's lots of rubbish everywhere. There are quite a few settlements. Right now where I'm standing I can see like what looks like an inhabited house just across the other side of the river. There's another one probably about 400 metres away from us. There's quite a few beekeepers. We're seeing lots of hives, box hives, made ones, and there's noticeable damage done to the slopes by overgrazing. So if you find a fenced in area, it's very well grassed, but immediately where the fence stops is completely bare ground on the other side. So the sceptical side of me is not particularly optimistic about there being mysterious large and wild animals here, but it's certainly a beautiful habitat, and it does feel quite wild.
Considerably less wild than the upper reaches of the Romit Valley, the two forks of the Romit Valley. Up to this point, anyway, I don't know, we're going on foot further up, I don't know what that will be like. We'll have to see how it pans out. We'll talk to some of the locals, see if there's been any sightings of Ghoul or Caspian Tigers. But maybe if it's not a super abundant area in terms of sightings and things, we might move on somewhere else. I don't know. But it's certainly a lot less remote than the Rommet Valley that we did in 2018.
And how did this affect the sighting reports that you got of the ghoul?
Well, the only sightings of the ghoul we got, the only accounts, were from a long time ago. There was one man who had seen it in 1988 around the Lake Peyron area, and another man said that he remembered that when he was a boy in 1978 in the village of Hakimi, an old man had seen one and been frightened to death by it, and the villagers followed the tracks and saw two of these creatures together. And there was another sighting of two of them together in a different area of the valley as well. But they were all back in the 70s and 80s, unlike the Rommet Valley where we had sightings from very recently.
It's probably more secure than it looks. I've been across bridges that are far more rickety than this. Hang on, John won't know we've gone this way unless we.
I was surprised when I saw the footage how many rivers and streams there were, with the ground still looking very desiccated and dusty. Each of the rivers had designated crossing points and bridges, and here, in a bridge which looked like it had seen better days, John Hare went across. However, he wasn't supposed to go that way, so Darren went off to collect John, and then, showing how intrepid he was, our own Richard Freeman decides not just to follow them, but to film himself following them with his camera in one hand, which was far more foolhardy than anything I would have dared to attempt. Well done, Richard. And once they had crossed the bridge, the expedition team went further up into the mountains towards Lake Peyron.
Well, this may have put a spanner in the proverbial works. This bridge across these rapids is down. So if we can't cross somewhere else, that's getting to the lake well and truly screwed. This is the mad thicket we're coming up through to try and find the way to the lake. Nobody seems to quite know the way. No, I've had a rest, I'm fine. My asthma means I can't go too fast in the heat.
All out individual variation, like you said.
Well, this is a veritable Sylvian labyrinth. We can't find the path. All the paths we think lead to the lake are just petering out. This is the trouble of not having a guide who knows what they're doing and where to go. So this is the only time on an expedition we've had a guide who isn't au fait with the area. Now, before we went, I thought he was. I thought he knew it and knew the way up to the lake, but apparently he's never been, and we are on our own in the wilderness. We are babes in the wood.
Where? Тимудара? Тимудара?
По-русскому можете говорить?
Тимудара? Перон?
Ich heiße Fazilov.
Yosef?
Marion, озеро Marion.
Harrier?
Там озеро есть. Вот я их
Тимур? Тимудара?
Нет, Тимудара здесь. Marion was с помощью.
Тимудара?
Marion.
Перон? Yes. Перон? Hey. Perron.
Marion.
Harrier.
Marion.
Harrier.
Marion.
Harrier. And Tимудара?
Там озеро большое.
Iron. Тимудара?
Это Тимудара. Там Marion. Потом есть источник горячей вода Ходжа Хасан. Там горячая вода 36 градусов и в зиме, и в летом. Оно полезно для суставной болезни. Если у тебя ноги болят, зайдешь, скупайся полчаса.
We tried to cross the river up here.
Yeah, I think
the
it's
bridge,
really
the
well.
bridge. The bridge has collapsed. Yeah.
Перевал.
Yeah. We're like we're trying to cross up here. And there's a bridge, you know. But it's like so we were like we couldn't cross.
Я вас буду сопровождать.
Do you know how to cross? Cross the river.
Когда вы будете приехать на следующий раз, найдите меня, я вас буду сопровождать до этих мест.
Where are you going to the
Пешком.
Peshkom?
Not one I've heard of.
On the way back, we met a donkey caravan with some locals, and we got talking to one chap who didn't know a word of English, but with sign language and scribbling things on the floor and things, we managed to communicate, and he intimated to us that all of the bridges were down and there was no way to Lake Peyron without crossing the rapids, which were impossible on foot. This sequence of film is not terribly good. The sound is awful because we were next to a river and the light was going. But the landowner, a man called wildman, turned up and he told us, he spent most of the evening with us in fact, and he told us that there'd been a farm and cultivation on the land for about 70 years. And he had never seen the Ghoul himself, but back in the 1960s, a Russian man and a Russian woman were in the area and they saw a whole family of Ghoul. But as they approached the creatures, they retreated back into the mountains. At first I thought this might have been Marie-Jeanne Kaufmann, the legendary hominid researcher, and Boris Prushnev, but then I remembered that Kaufmann had only ever seen one Ghoul, and that was at a distance in the Caucasus Mountains in Russia, so this couldn't have been her, and as far as I know Prushnev had never seen any, but he did see tracks.
This dog, and there are several of them around the camp that we've been feeding, this dog is polydactyl. If you look on her back legs, if she turns round, she's got extra claw on her back legs. Let's see if I can zoom in. There we go. Extra claws. Oh, aren't you clever having extra claws? You are, yeah.
quite common in quite a few breeds.
I woke up this morning and felt pretty terrible. I felt incredibly drained. Even so much as putting my shoes on felt like a huge effort. And also I've got a terribly upset stomach. I'm having the same malady as the last time I was in Tajikistan. Thankfully not nearly so bad. I've taken some medicine for it. But I am so washed out that I can't face the climb up to the lake today. Our guide has found us another route up. So the others are going to press on, and I'm going to wait here then go back to camp. Hopefully I'll be alright tomorrow to carry on as normal. But I'm going to have a day of rest today because I feel so terrible.
Hi, this is Chris Clark. It's August 21st, 2023, and we're at a lake called Timur Dara at altitude of something like 2,000 meters in Tajikistan. We had a very stiff climb up here from the Karatag Valley, and the first time we attempted it we got totally lost, which was yesterday. We had to come back, find a local guide, and he led us right up to this lake. It's one of the hardest climbs I've ever made, but looking at this, the turquoise lake, the mountains behind it, I would say it was well worth it.
Not too far, not too far. You've got to do the faces. Yeah. Oh, that's actually very good. That's very good.
On this day, Richard, poor chap, was poorly and he stayed back down at the camp at the bottom of the mountains. It does look absolutely spectacular, and I was surprised to see how clear the water is, and because it's so blue it must be very deep. Sadly, I didn't see any fish in the water, which is something I always look for whenever the boys film streams or lakes for me. I'm sure if I'd been there I would have spent most of my time grubbing around under stones in the little streams to see what small beasts I could discover. And it is looking at places like this that makes me feel so sad that I'm probably never going to be able to go on an expedition like this ever again. And I'm veritably itching to be able to find out what small creatures live in this lake. It is apparently somewhere that has got a culture of angling, so there are presumably some big fish, but I've always been more interested in the little creatures that are further down the food chain.
Dr. Darren Naish will now describe the environment of Lake Timur Dara.
Well, hello, and here we are at the very beautiful, picturesque Lake Timur Dara, surrounded by very high rocky mountains and quite a deep lake. I'm not sure how deep it is, but it's very turquoise and blue in the middle, so I'm guessing it's deeper than 10 meters or something. Doesn't seem to have much in the way of interesting plant life. It appears to be just algae around the edges, and there's no obvious signs of fish life in the lake, but we've been told that there are indeed fish in here. In similar lakes that you might find in Europe and Western Asia, you'd expect animals like char and salmon to be living in the lake. Maybe that's the case here, I don't actually know. On the downside of things, there is substantial evidence for continual human presence all around the lake. There's footprints absolutely everywhere. There's litter absolutely everywhere. There's a massive amount of evidence for constant visitation by cattle. So loads of cow tracks everywhere, bits of shed cow skin. And the edges of the lake aren't really any good for, I was hoping we might find, say, muddy patches where you could actually look for animals that might come down to the water to drink. But the edges really aren't built like that. They're steeper, they're rocky, they are dry and fine, very fine sediment in places, so tracks are left quite easily, but as I've said, it's dominated by human tracks and cattle tracks. We have found 3 different masses of bear scat right in the middle of various of the paths, so pretty sure there are bears living in these mountains. There's abundant bird life. I've been recording various birds that I've seen, including falcons and various passerines. And I found a single track of what appears to be a mid-sized cat. I have photographed it. Mid-sized cat, I'm thinking most likely a lynx, nothing bigger than that. But the fact that dogs come here occasionally, we are accompanied ourselves by a dog, that means that you've really got to be careful in terms of the tracks you're looking at. So it's a beautiful place and I'm pleased that we've come here. But that about wraps up everything I have to say on it.
Can you ask each of them if they've ever seen animals like on these cards?
شما در همه کوه‌ها یگان حیوانات‌های وحشی دیدگی یا نه؟ خیرس بود. نه من خیلی حالتی مایمون هست. مایمون نیست. نه نشه. اینجا این نون اون نمونه. نه
یا سولوی سویتی در آتیما لسنی بود. پی همین دو اینه که گرفته در گازت لیلی فرانسیا برامدگی بستونه.
همین یک معلومات بالا دادن سال 1975 سال
ممکن هم سال آن هوای.
In 1975 years, these people live family.
Oh, is this?
Yeah. In 1975, yes.
1975.
Yeah.
And the creatures like this lived here?
Yeah. At this moment, no. Live.
Yeah.
No live.
Have any of these men seen a creature like this?
They see this man father sees.
His father.
His father sees these mountains.
O tam دیدگی بود. صورت شگری شدن فرانسیا گازت ژورنال لیلی بود میاد ژورنالی هم با صورت شروع کردم ژورنال.
His father give picture and send to French. Yeah. Send to French. Yeah. This picture.
Picture of the creature.
Yeah. Sees mountains. Give picture.
What, like with a camera?
Yeah. Phone.
Oh.
Give picture and send. Yeah.
Well, not 1975. There's no.
No phone. Picture different to phone.
Oh, you mean camera?
Yeah. No camera. Old camera.
Old camera.
Old camera. Yeah. Old camera.
Yeah.
همون سال 1975 سال با هم صورتگرک بود.
همون صورتگرک بود. یا تادیم خارجی همون سامدگی بود. همون تمام صحبت میکنم میگردم با میگم.
Their father go friend to French. He give picture and photo.
Right.
No give picture. The people French give picture this place as this animals.
So we're French people here.
Yeah.
And the French people
in 1975 by this place go and give picture this animals. At this moment, no.
Okay. But his father saw it.
Yes, his father. Yes.
His father did his father tell him what happened when he saw it?
Yeah.
Where was it and what occurred when he saw it? What happened when his father saw the creature?
همین اون تاریخش هست می؟
چیزا؟
همین انسانایی که هم زندگی میکنن تاریخ داشتن یا نداشتن چه؟
خب من کارکردم لیس خوش بود. اشتراکی جان بزرگتری. با اومدم زندگی میکردم با کارکردم لیس خوش بودم.
شور بودن ده هم میگشتن.
میدیدم.
In Soviet period, historical, in Soviet period.
Did he say how big?
Very big,
Bigger than man.
یعنی خدو بلندوشون بالدروز بود یا پس منم که انسانایی که بودن
خیلی نویا کنده میدونم
این نوع دیدگی نیستیم
فقط پایشه
هم پایشه دیدم No sees the animal only his father
His father
yes father see they are very small at this moment
We took with us a number of what we call flashcards, which had reconstructions of creatures like Gigantopithecus and relic hominins like Homo erectus and Homo habilis on it, as well as modern day pictures of apes. The one the gentleman is holding here is Homo floresiensis, although I think he wasn't saying that this is what it most looked like. He just happened to be talking when he was looking through the cards and stopped when he was holding that one. most of the people, when asked to pick out what the creature looked like when they saw it, this time around picked the famous painting of two yetis in a snowfield. The first time around, back in 2018, the one that they picked out the most was a picture of a skunk ape from Lyle Blackburn's book about the beast of Boggy Creek, and they said the structure of the hands on that was most like.
Yeah. So what animals do they know here? We know there are bears here.
And wolves.
Are there wolves here?
Yeah. As a wolf and also gurgu khirsa. Yeah, very many sheep, cows, bear, wolf. Kitchens.
پلنگوی خالدار کوکی نموش چیه؟ پلنگوی خالدار است که دومش دراز. و ما همینجا دیدیم.
Yes, the big wolf, bear, sees this mountain.
Have any of them, any of these gentlemen, have they seen a tiger?
Tiger.
A tiger.
No.
You know what a tiger is?
زمستان میبود اینجا.
In winter time. In winter time.
Снежный барс, снежный барс.
Да.
Снежный барс. خشخالدو قاس. صغور هست.
Panzer. Panzer, understand?
Don't know that word. But
Yeah, panzer. Leopards and panzer.
No, tiger.
yeah,
No, tiger,
so
not tiger.
like that, but with the stripes.
I'll draw one.
Yeah.
Tiger.
Yeah.
Yeah, big tiger.
Yeah, that's a tiger. Stripes.
Oh no, tiger.
Yeah, we should have found out what the Tajik word was for tiger.
Снежный барс.
Did you take any film of that tiger on the back of the car? Oh, you didn't. Has anybody got a pen? Yeah. Well,
Sure.
Let's draw a tiger. Forgive my draftsmanship.
I'm a good drawer. Well, you're good enough. You're a good drawer.
ماشین قطعه اون دیگه تا پیاده هم تیز کنه پول میگذارن دی بازار میشه
خیلی اصلا بور میشه.
بعد دو میشه تا تابستان در خیم تا چرا مال بار باشه
اینجا به سیواز نمیگرفت اصلا؟
نه کونه
David Shepherd's got nothing to worry about.
It's magnificent.
So this is tiger.
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 Koshka.
Tiger. Like a moor, like
Cat, yeah.
You see,
Cat.
tiger.
Yeah,
But
tiger.
big.
Big. Man.
Tiger.
Yes.
Tiger. Yeah. Tiger. Yeah. Very many.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tiger Hasan Palang.
Hasan.
Palangoy هم چیز آخه
Yeah. Tiger.
When?
Fisher.
But
دومش داره شوی است
Very many.
گربه کوهی ای کو
yeah.
Long. Yeah.
گربه کوهی
Tiger. Yeah.
Big.
Yeah. You understand? Tiger.
O boyu من
Tiger.
پلنگ زده گوشت کافی.
همین چیزی که همین کشیده این مانندی پیشکی یوویه پیشکی یوویه همه خیلی میشه پیشکی یوویه توش من همین چیزی در میاد
و آدم اقفاش گشته
این پیشکی یوویه در داخل میشه و جان نام داره این
Wild cat.
No, this is the wildcat is this one. Tiger is this
big.
one. Yeah.
Vay pişek yoğuş
That's-
bu tegi mayda kadar.
Man.
In kalon.
Man.
Tiger falan.
Man
şey,
tiger. Man
Ya ama
tiger.
hala böyle
It's a bit
palanga
tiger,
yok.
wasn't it? Yeah.
Var falan ya.
Bars.
Dedeki uçmanlık ya.
Do you remember the car?
Ya boyum
The car down
Ne
there.
paronasa?
Yeah.
Ve mümkün değilse go saydı ama şikoy oldu meram. Ben sizi bir an pide.
Yeah, the big mountains. Yeah, tiger.
Have any of these men seen a tiger?
Çoğu dedeki var.
Güzel.
Abi tiger dedeki.
Mo khir palanga hamani dedi.
Yes.
Ma solay başçagim de hem bolu ma tiram zaz
Adam solo bu. Oziba ne ya?
davay başçı.
Ye hoziram gush kune da mo
Hoziram,
am
ha,
dite
se
malay
bacho
chiba.
megwan.
Ha mezanan okhi. Ame dita mezanan shon.
Ya mezana va hücum dokunane diyor.
Vay molo me chiz me khuna da molo.
When did you see the
Here's you know hama
Only the tiger, the big mountains, maybe eating sheep cows.
Eating sheep.
And cows.
But was this a long time ago, or?
When you saw one.
Yeah, in the
You know,
winter
enjoy
go
the
by
khir
down.
dediğin ne sana?
Ne var bu diyeyim. Temurlara ben akıllı toşu diyeyim ki.
Ve şav damı tabii çoğu mağaza garyagar me biniş. Toydaşını.
khuga dide.
Ne, in Temurlara very many beer.
Yep.
Midnight coming near the lake.
Oh yes,
Bisiora.
well, we've seen the bear.
Here's who, you know, bisiora.
Yeah, beer, also very many.
Yeah, but when can you find out when was the tiger? When did he see the tiger in the mountains? Does he know a year?
Yeah.
Like 2000 or 1990 or 1980?
Adam solo bu da kal.
Soloyla gidip şonza hatta solo budum da.
His men
Solo
16, 17 years. He's a tiger. 1960, yeah.
The year 1960.
1960, yeah.
Well, that's still pretty interesting.
Ya diyor oğlu durumda sürü güzel kuşta göt yapamını babayı ben çok hızlı kuşta geçer.
Go in our people go to home, eating donkey, eating sheep, eating cow, and go.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. We know because there were tigers here. We know 100 years ago they lived here.
Yeah. At this moment, no.
But well, yeah. People we know people in Tajikistan say they see them.
Yeah.
But they're supposed to be extinct.
Yeah, maybe very rare.
Yeah. And so if they are here now, yeah, that's what we're trying to find out. Do people see them today, or 10 years ago, or 20 years ago?
Ya sımsak karan yolda tayin o plikala onu da tamasha edeyana.
So they don't believe they are here now. They don't think tigers live.
Ya garram bu oron beşe bana
Moment, no live here.
At the moment, not. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. All right.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Well, that's pretty good. So please make sure that you say thank you for their time for talking to us. Very kind.
If you want to support us and help us make more content like these, please press like, subscribe, follow our Facebook page and check out our Patreon.
And there's the ghost of Joe Strummer, who's an ever more regular visitor to my little house, will tell you. Don't forget to ring the notification bell, otherwise you won't be told when the next episode's gonna be. And that would be an awful pity, wouldn't it? And that's it for this episode. I'm sorry it's a little longer than usual, but I think you'll agree with me that it was well worth squeezing in as much as we managed to. The entire film, which is just under 2 hours long, can be found at the link in the show notes, and I sincerely hope that you all enjoy watching it. I'd like to say a big thank you to everybody but for whom this episode wouldn't have got made, particularly Louis, who is our producer and is at the moment gallivanting around the colonies, and the team, Richard, John, Chris and Darren. Well done, lads. I'm very, very proud of you. But I've got a question to ask. Richard, why are you gallivanting around the place in such a nautical manner?
Because all the nice ghouls like a sailor.
And I can't think of anything to say which would be more appropriate than that. I'll see you next week.